Hi, everybody. I hope you had fun creating your emotional preparation. Please remember it's not real. Whatever you feel, it's created in your mind as a useful technique in order to evoke an emotion for the first moment of your monologue. Now, the second thing that we're going to do from the Meisner technique is your nearly impossible task, also known as your impossible task or your activity. For this nearly impossible task, you are going to do exactly what it sounds like. Figure out, create, imagine a nearly impossible task. Something that is not totally impossible, that you would just give up immediately because you're like, I just can't do it. Something that is super meaningful to you in an imagined situation that you almost can't complete, but you know there's something in you that says, I can do this if I just keep chugging along. Okay? So, for an example, the most famous nearly impossible task in the Meisner technique is called the broken plate exercise. What this is, in its most basic terms, is a broken plate that you create an imagined emotional response to, and you need to put the plate back together in a certain amount of time, or you have failed your mission. Okay, so when I do the broken plate exercise, I take a ceramic plate, I put it in a plastic bag. Okay, first I take the ceramic plate and I create an emotional response to this object. Okay, I always imagine that this plate is my most prized possession. It has been in my family for generations, and my grandmother gave it to me right before she died. This plate survived the Holocaust. It was with my family through the concentration camps, and they managed to hide it in a way that they kept it. They survived, they kept it, they gave it to my grandmother, they gave it to me. It is my most prized possession, and I love this ceramic plate with my whole heart. Now, none of that is real, right? I don't have this plate, not a real plate, wasn't with my family during the Holocaust. I made up this scenario to give an emotional response to this inanimate object. Then what you do for the broken plate exercise, once you've created this emotional scenario, I put it in a plastic bag and I break it. I throw it on the floor so it's in a bunch of pieces. Then I do an emotional preparation that I just broke this plate and my mom is coming over in 20 minutes. And if I don't fix this plate so it looks absolutely perfect in 20 minutes, my mom is going to absolutely murder me. Okay, there's my emotional prep. There's my activity. Then I sit and I take glue and I glue the plate back together as best as I possibly can to try and make it look perfect. That is one example of a impossible task or an activity. You are more than welcome to just steal that idea, put your own emotional twist and imagined scenario for your emotional prep, and do that activity while you do your monologue. Remember, you need to really feel those emotions though. So it's wonderful to do the broken plate exercise, but it's not the only option out there. It is so fun to craft your own activities and choose what you want to do. So some other activities I've done in the past are, this was a really fun one when I was in high school. So these have to be like high stakes. They really matter. When I was in high school, I did an activity that I imagined. I was at summer camp, and my boyfriend from home, I caught him cheating on me with one of my friends from summer camp. And it's a sleepaway camp. So what I did, it was like a sleepaway camp where we were allowed to have visitors. So it made sense to me that like he could have come and visited me and cheated on me with her. Again, none of this ever happened. I just made it up. So I imagined that they were having that rendezvous, and I was pissed. So what I did for my activity was I bought a bunch of underwear from like the dollar store, and I bought a tub of chocolate icing. And I put an emotional connection on these items. And I imagined that I snuck into her dorm and stole her underwear. And I was going to put chocolate icing and like all this disgusting stuff, red paint all over this fake underwear, and then plant it all over her room. So if I imagined that he was coming to her room and I knew that they were going to sneak in there in 10 minutes. So I needed to get all of this done and make her room look absolutely disgusting in 10 minutes and then get out of there so he could think that she had all these poopy underwears all over her room that she didn't clean up. High stakes, specific, emotional. Disgusting, but creates an emotional response. Another activity I created when I was your age, I'm trying to think back to those because, you can relate to them more. I imagined that I was 16 when I did this, and I imagined that I was pregnant. So I created a whole emotional preparation that I was pregnant, and my activity was I was so stressed out, and my mom was coming home in like 10 minutes. So I needed to calm myself down so I could talk to her. So I was doing like all of this like prenatal yoga and like trying to like look up prenatal yoga and like understand what that means and like do all this research and do the yoga and calm myself down. Because at that point, I was so stressed out as a 16-year-old needing to tell my mom that it was nearly impossible for me to do all of that in 10 minutes. Now, again, none of this is real. Now, I never did any of this. I had no maniacal feelings. My high school boyfriend didn't cheat on me, luckily, I think. None of this is real. This is all stuff that I made up to create an emotional response within myself and then act it out through text. So what you're going to do is either take one of my ideas or create an impossible task within yourself. Another really easy example is you imagine that you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or some sort of partner that you are like madly in love with. Really see them, imagine who they are. You are madly in love with them. And then imagine that you just got word from your parents that you need to move across the country next month for your parents' job. Maybe even make it more intense. It's not you moving next month, it's you're moving tomorrow. And your parents just didn't tell you because they didn't want to hurt your feelings. And you need to write a note or leave a voicemail or practice something to tell the love of your life that you're moving across the country and you can't do anything about it. Another example where I had my emotional breakthrough actually when I was 15 is I imagined that my voice teacher died and he told me that he wanted me to sing at his funeral. So I was trying to learn a song to sing at his funeral. It could be anything, but it's got to be something that you could do while you say your monologue. So what you're going to do is choose an emotional task, an impossible task, an activity, and do this activity while you say your monologue. Answer the questions on the next slides to prepare your activity, and then you'll film yourself saying your monologue.